This is the best no-contact framework, guaranteed. In this video, you'll learn how to understand exactly where your ex is emotionally and how to respond with strength and clarity based on where she truly is right now. But this isn't just another method to win someone back. It's a deeper truth about how love unfolds and how it unravels when we stop paying attention. Most men only start looking for answers after everything has already begun to fall apart. They chase closure, cling to hope, and try to fix something they don't yet understand. But real clarity comes not from reaction. It comes from stillness, from awareness. What if the breakup didn't begin when she left, but long before, in the quiet moments when she stopped leaning in, stopped laughing the same way, stopped looking at you with that spark? What if you've been standing in the wreckage of something that began collapsing months ago? In this video, I'm not just going to explain what's happening. I'm going to help you feel it, to recognize where she is on the emotional spectrum, not based on what she says, but based on what she shows. You'll learn how to respond without panic, without pressure, just presence. Because you can't shortcut your way to closeness. You build it again from the ground up, stage by stage, step by step. So if you're ready for something more grounded than guesswork and more powerful than pleading, then this is where we start. Like the video and subscribe to Stoic Station, because getting her back begins with getting yourself back first. Let's get started. Most people believe love begins when two people find each other and feel something undeniable, and that's true, partially. But what we don't often realize is that romantic love doesn't stay in one place. It moves, it deepens, it tests us, and sometimes when we aren't paying attention, it starts to unravel quietly, long before the final goodbye. Stage 1 is what we all recognize, falling in love. It's that magnetic pull, the excitement that doesn't need logic to justify its existence. You feel alive, reawakened, like your soul has just remembered something it forgot. Every message feels like electricity. Every interaction builds more gravity between you. In this phase, flaws are blurred, and time moves differently. It's intoxicating, and yes, it clouds judgment. But that's part of the design. We're meant to fall first, without needing the full picture. Still, most men overlook one quiet truth. When a relationship ends, it doesn't collapse in a single moment. It dissolves gradually. She didn't wake up one day and stop loving you. She stepped backward, slowly, silently, through every stage she once gave herself to. When a breakup happens, you've walked yourself backwards of those stages. That line alone changes how we see it. It's not just that she left, it's that she retreated piece by piece from the intimacy you once shared. And if you weren't paying attention, you missed the signals, the hesitations, the guarded smiles, the silence that used to be filled with warmth. By the time she ended things, she had already been gone emotionally for a while. Stage 2 is where the foundation of love is built. Trust. This isn't about grand gestures, it's about consistency. Can she lean into you without fearing collapse? Can she believe you mean what you say, not once, but every time? Trust isn't just about not cheating or lying. It's about showing up when it's hard, listening when it's inconvenient, staying calm when it would be easier to lash out. When that sense of safety begins to erode, when your actions no longer match your words, she begins to pull away, not loudly but deeply. And then there's commitment. Stage 3, the place where love matures, where it's no longer just a feeling, it's a decision. A quiet but powerful choice to stay, to grow, to fight for what you've both built. It's the stage where she feels not just emotionally bonded, but spiritually grounded in the relationship. But here's the hard truth. Commitment cannot stand if trust is gone. and trust cannot grow where attraction has died. Each stage is connected, and when things fall apart, they fall apart in reverse. That's why getting her back isn't about a grand apology or a perfect message. It's about understanding where she is emotionally, not where you want her to be, and having the patience, the discipline, and the strength to meet her there. And if you can do that, you don't just rebuild the relationship, you rebuild yourself, quietly, powerfully, from the ground up. But love doesn't just move forward, it can also fade in reverse. And that's the part most men never see coming. So before you think about how to get her back, you need to understand how she actually left. Not physically, but emotionally. Let's talk about that. Breakups rarely come out of nowhere, but to the man who wasn't paying close attention, it can feel like a sudden collapse, like the ground disappeared in an instant. One day, she's in your life. The next, she's pulling away, unreachable. You're left wondering what happened, when, in truth, she had already been walking away long before she ever spoke the words. She didn't just wake up one morning and decide she was done. It was a slow retreat, a quiet undoing. What you may remember as everything was fine last month was, for her, the middle of a deeper unraveling. She stepped back one stage at a time. First came the erosion of trust, and it didn't happen with a single betrayal. It happened in the details, small broken promises, the moments where you said you'd do something and didn't, the times you dismissed what felt important to her. Each moment may have seemed minor to you, but to her, they added up. When a woman begins to feel like your words aren't anchored in action, she begins to guard her heart. That's when she starts building emotional distance, not out of spite, but for self-protection. Then came the loss of emotional safety. This is where many men unknowingly accelerate the process. Driven by fear, anxiety, or desperation, they start reaching out more, asking for reassurance, trying to hold tighter. You may think your constant texting, over-apologizing, or emotional outbursts show that you care. But to her, those aren't signs of love. They're signs that the emotional space you once shared, once stable and secure, has become unstable. Her nervous system starts associating your presence with volatility, not calm. These weren't just mistakes, they were signals. To her, they weren't isolated incidents. They were patterns that confirmed something was breaking, that what once felt like a sanctuary now felt uncertain, reactive, unpredictable. She didn't stop loving you in a single moment, but somewhere between the broken trust and the rising chaos, she stopped feeling safe. And when a woman stops feeling safe, the relationship begins to die, not loudly, but quietly. Here's where most men go wrong. They believe they can fix things by jumping back into the connection, by talking more, explaining harder, trying to get her to remember how good it was. But that's not where she is anymore. You're thinking from a place of stage 3. She's already drifted past stage 2, past stage 1. Your ex is not in stage 1. They're in stage 0. Attraction is gone. That's the part men misread. They confuse their urgency with her openness. But urgency doesn't build bridges, it burns them. If you want any chance of bringing her back, you need to stop reacting from where you are emotionally and start recognizing where she is. Because until you do, you'll keep talking past her. And every word you say, no matter how sincere, will only push her further away. There's a pattern I see time and time again, and I've lived it myself. A man loses the woman he loves, and instead of pausing to understand what actually happened, he scrambles. He calls, sends long emotional texts, shows up unexpectedly, apologizes over and over. He thinks he's fighting for love. But to her, it doesn't feel like love. It feels like pressure. And not the kind that draws someone closer. It's the kind that makes them retreat even faster. The mistake is always the same, trying to jump back into stage 3, commitment, when she's emotionally sitting at stage 0. She's not in love, she's not even curious, she's disconnected. And when a man starts throwing big emotional gestures at someone who isn't ready to receive them, it backfires. Every "I miss you" or "Can we please talk" feels to her like noise. It overwhelms her system, because in that moment, he's not reading the room, he's reacting from his own fear. It's almost like going to a complete stranger and telling them you want to get married. Let that image sit for a second, because that's what it feels like to her emotionally. You might have history, shared memories, inside jokes, but if she's no longer emotionally present, then none of that holds weight right now. And when you ignore where she is, when you try to fast forward to where you want things to be, she doesn't feel understood, she feels cornered. Take a man named Daniel, for example. After his girlfriend broke up with him, he panicked. Within 2 days, he sent her a 6-paragraph message outlining every mistake he made, how he was going to change, how he wanted to marry her someday. He thought he was being sincere. What he didn't see was how it landed on her end. Too much, too fast, too soon. She didn't respond. A week later, he sent flowers and another letter. Still silence. Finally, after she blocked his number, he said, "I don't understand. I was just trying to show her how much I love her. But love that isn't grounded in timing and awareness feels like a burden to the person who isn't ready for it." You are out of sequence, and when you get things out of order, you lose them. This is where most men fall apart, because they think more is better, more effort, more words, more emotional intensity. But in truth, what's needed is the exact opposite. You don't need more words, you need more silence, more space, more strategy. You need to match your actions to where she actually is, not where you wish she were. If she's in stage 0, attraction has faded. Pressure won't bring it back. It's presence that creates space for it to return. And that presence doesn't come from chasing, it comes from stepping back, grounding yourself, and letting her feel the contrast, the stillness, the version of you that isn't trying to prove anything, just becoming someone worth feeling drawn to again. So if you feel the urge to send that long message, pause. If you feel tempted to explain yourself one more time, breathe. You're not helping her see your love more clearly. You're making it harder for her to feel anything at all. And feelings, not logic, are what brings someone back. The biggest mistake after a breakup isn't just losing her, it's losing yourself trying to hold on. When you ignore where she is emotionally and try to force the connection back into existence, you create more distance, not less. Because the truth is, the more you try to close the gap with words, gestures, or explanations, the wider it feels to her. That's why this moment isn't about action, it's about alignment. Not with your desires, but with the reality of where she stands, and where you must now stand alone. Let her be. Let the silence speak. And in that space, give yourself permission to become something far more powerful than a man chasing love. Become the man she has to feel again in your absence. Because true strength after a breakup doesn't come from pursuit. It comes from presence. From knowing when to pull back, when to hold your ground, and when to let go of control, not as surrender, but as strategy. When everything inside you wants to fix the relationship, silence can feel unbearable. But that silence, if used wisely, is not a void. It's a mirror. It reflects who you are without her, and more importantly, it creates space for her to see you without all the noise, the fear, the pressure. That's where the real work begins. Most men mistake no contact for a punishment, a tactic to make her miss them, but that mindset is still rooted in control. No contact, when done right, isn't about revenge. It's about respect. Respect for her emotional process and for yours. It's the disciplined decision to stop interfering with her timeline and start reclaiming your own. Start from where she is, not from where you wish she were. And if she's in stage 0, then that's your starting point too. That means letting go of the outcome and committing instead to the process. Because love, when it's real, is never forced. It's rediscovered. And that rediscovery doesn't happen through long texts or late-night apologies. It happens through stillness, through absence, through the echo of your presence once it's gone. Silence, when rooted in strength, becomes magnetic. It reintroduces the mystery. The emotional predictability that once dulled the connection is replaced by curiosity. She doesn't hear your voice anymore, but now she starts to wonder what you're thinking, how you're doing, if you've changed. And when she begins to reach out, liking posts, replying to stories, sending casual messages, you'll be tempted to see it as an open door. But don't rush through it. This isn't permission to pick up where you left off. It's an invitation to start again. This is not the time to talk about the relationship. This is a first date again. Treat it that way. Let the energy be light. Laugh. Tell her something unexpected, not something heavy. Don't make it about what went wrong. Make it about who you're becoming. Let her feel the difference without needing to explain it. If she begins to show consistency, initiating contact, wanting to see you again, asking deeper questions, that's when you know she's starting to move into stage 1. And from there, you gradually enter stage 2. This is where the deeper conversations live. But even then, you don't force them. Let her lead sometimes. Let her express her doubts, her fears. Your job is not to fix. Your job is to listen. To show that your strength is no longer about controlling outcomes, but holding space. Only when trust begins to rebuild naturally can stage 3, commitment, be considered. Not because it was talked into existence, but because it has grown from something real. If you try to move there too quickly, if you skip the steps, you risk breaking it again. There's a reason relationships that resume too quickly don't last. She needs to feel the absence. She needs to feel the desire. If you don't give her enough time to miss you, to long for you, then any commitment she gives you will be shallow, temporary. It may soothe your fear for a moment, but it won't last. Forget about what they said for now. You've attracted them before. That's the most important reminder. You don't need tricks, you don't need pressure, and you certainly don't need fear to guide your actions. What brought her in the first time wasn't desperation. It was presence, confidence, and a calm kind of certainty. You can bring that energy back, but only if you stop chasing and start becoming. I've been where you are, standing in the ruins of something I thought was solid, grasping for answers, playing memories over and over, wondering how someone who once looked at me like I was everything could now look through me like I was nothing. I know what it's like to want to fix things right away, to believe that if I just said the right words, sent the right message, explained hard enough, maybe she'd come back. But what I didn't understand back then, and what I hope you'll understand now, is that love doesn't fall apart all at once, and it doesn't come back that way either. What we've walked through here isn't just a strategy to get her back, it's a map, a real, grounded understanding of what happens when a woman begins to emotionally exit a relationship. She doesn't run, she retreats. Slowly, step by step, from passion to trust to commitment. And if you try to meet her at the final stage when she's already emotionally gone, all she'll feel is pressure, intrusion, noise. That's why the most powerful thing you can do is stop. Not out of defeat, but out of clarity. Let her walk. Let her feel the silence. Let her wonder what happened to the man she thought she had figured out. And in that stillness, you begin something far more important than getting her back. You begin rebuilding yourself. Because you can't lead a woman back to connection if you're still chasing her from panic. But when you pause, reset, and truly understand where she is, not where you want her to be, you create space for something real to grow again. You stop chasing the past and start becoming someone she could fall for again. Not because you said the right thing, but because your presence speaks louder than anything else. So here's the truth I've come to live by. Attraction is not a tactic. Trust is not a shortcut. Commitment is not a gift. It's earned, one quiet, intentional step at a time. And if you really want her back, you don't force the outcome. You honor the process. Let go of the timeline. Let go of the need to convince. Let her come to you, not because you pushed, but because you became. That's the work. That's the power. And that's where everything begins again. This time, not from desperation, but from strength. If this message resonated with you, if it gave you clarity, strength, or even just a new perspective, then I want to hear from you. What else do you need on this journey? What questions are still weighing on your heart? Your feedback matters, because this isn't just a video, it's a conversation between men who've been through it and are finding their way back with purpose. So take a moment, share your thoughts. Let's keep building something real here. If this brought you value, like the video and subscribe to Stoic Station. Because healing, it's not a destination, it's a process, and you don't have to go through it alone. Thanks for being here. I'll see you in the next one.